Hello everyone, today we're talking to Jazzmint, who is a New York-based drag queen. She will talk us through how to start doing drag, some criticism on it, and some stuff about her favorite drag queen. Enjoy.
Where drag started, to bring it up, is that I think a lot of drag historical lineages are rooted in a type of mindset that conflates gender and sex. So in really early forms of drag, I think most of it was trying to not only explore gender but also mimic femaleness. For some people it is an important attribute of their persona when they're in drag to be wearing a breastplate or to mimic these very female attributes. But my goal is not to pursue femaleness. It's my pursuit through drag I'm in pursuit of glamour, and I'm in pursuit of some very specific things that I want that just happen to be easily manifested in the form of very feminine tropes, which by subsequent turn into a womanly appearance.
So you use it as a tool, yeah, to express fashion and makeup and everything, but then other people, they use it as characters. So
everyone does it differently. So some people do female illusion, some people choose specific celebrities that they want to impersonate, which is generally an older technique. It's that's not necessarily where the contemporary drag momentum is placed. But people still do it. There are pageant queens, people that compete in competitions. There are dancers, and for me, the emphasis that I place is on the look. So I'm very casual today, but normally I'm not going to leave the house to perform or to go to an event in something that's not brand new, that I made for myself, that's elaborate and complex and took a lot of time. Because that's what I think is important, is serving a sickening look. And because of that dedication to the look, we've gotten a lot of really great opportunities. A really good friend of ours is a fashion designer who just won a $400,000 prize from Condé Nast and Vogue. And so we've been to the past 2 fashion shows that he's had and gotten to meet celebrities, and we've been in articles that are covering Fashion Week, and that kind of opportunity does come when you're dedicated.
Right, that's very cool. Cool. So you do drag shows in New York, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you do them in a bar or?
In all different kinds of venues. Before I graduated from my master's, I was helping host a poetry and performance night in drag. They were looking for a drag queen to help host the evening, and so I was introducing the different poets and performers who were participating in the event. But I also perform in bars, and I also have done fundraisers. So it's not always we're performing by lip syncing or something. It's often more social kinds of performance.
In these cities or countries where the drag scene is quite limited, I believe that those few drag queens, when they do get the chance to perform, they have a huge responsibility. You have one chance to prove to the audience and the venue that having a drag show is worth it and is gonna attract more and more customers. That drag show needs to be complex and display a talent. So what I mean by that is that besides having a fabulous look, clothes and makeup wise, you need to perform something that is good quality. So be it, live singing or dancing or stand-up comedy. Even if these people have not seen that many drag shows before, they would still come with the expectations from seeing those sophisticated drag queens on Netflix, on TV. So you need to exceed those expectations. Bottom line, even if it's just a start, you should still try and raise the bar and not just do some, lip syncing and move your arms a bit and think that people are gonna like it and come to your next show, because it's very likely that's not gonna be the case. This is your chance to prove that it's worth building the drag culture.
Correct. Or you have to prove to an audience why it's worthy, which is kind of shitty, but also not. Yeah, here in New York, it's easy to just look like this and get paid for it. but that's because there are hundreds of people doing it.
And that's the thing I don't like, to be honest, because I
But
don't find it like a good, I don't know, I don't find it that as good entertainment.
I mean, yeah, like different audiences are easier to please than others. But like, for example, in Diana's hometown, so Michael is my boyfriend, Diana is my drag mom.
Got it.
In Pennsylvania, where he's from, the performances are like very different, and you'll never see a girl, well, not never, but generally you don't really see them just like standing and doing nothing. There's like a lot of dancing, and they go into the audience and they interact with people.
So in these kind of cities where there is not a big drag scene, what would be your advice on people wanting to do it?
Build good relationships with the venues who will support you, like going into bars and not just being seen as a patron, but like asking to meet a manager or getting to know all of the bartenders so that they'll put in a good word for you. Tipping your bartenders, tipping the service, being cordial and respectful and not breaking things, like going in and making a good impression, because if you want it to be a professional opportunity, you have to treat it as such and behave professionally and also in a way that will make them want to bring you back. But also like not only relying on like a bar scene as performance opportunity, like, you know, there are so many different ways you can organize a brunch. Like if you know that there's a restaurant or a bar that does a brunch on weekends, drag brunch in New York is like historically, famously one of the most lucrative opportunities. People are so ready to give you their money at 10 a.m. because they haven't spent it yet. By 10 p.m. they've already spent all their money. But in the morning they have lots of tips and they're willing to share them. And they're having mimosas and peach bellinis, and they love to see something entertaining when they first wake up. I don't know, it's just drag brunch is like all over the world, I feel, or at least all over this country. It's just like a formula that really works. And if you know somewhere that already has a brunch and they're looking to get their audience or their customer base larger, if they have a sound system, it's so easy to go in and perform, you know, 5 or 6 numbers over the course of an hour, and it like incentivizes a customer to have another reason that they would want to meet their friends there. And so like, I guess ultimately the advice I would give is like, figure out how you as a performer or as an entertainer can market yourself as an asset to the locations that you want to be performing in and not a burden. Don't go in and expect everything to be handed to you or demand that you should be receiving XYZ. Go in and explain to the venue why you can help them increase their business or bring community together or provide representation or exposure to issues that matter to you. Sorry, there's a hair in my face. I guess what I'll say is like, you need to be doing the work to put yourself out there, whether you're getting paid only in tips. Even if you're only going to make $5 in tips, no one will ever know who you are if you say no to the gig because you're not going to get paid.
Got it.
Because ultimately, like, the history of being a bitch in drag is like long, and, you know, being a diva is like very, you know, that's like what everybody thinks is going on. Like, oh, a diva. Like, it's very alluring to think about behaving that way. But the reality is that like, no one is going to want to work with you if you're difficult or if you're not willing to help them as much as you want them to help you. Because like, even the most famous divas have their core group of people that in the very beginning, they were very loyal to and respectful of. Like, nobody can do it alone. Nobody has done it alone. And so you don't want to be that bitch who is on her own and not doing it because no one will help her or him or them.
There are some people who, after watching drag on Netflix, they would start thinking that they're queens themselves. And I just wanted to take this opportunity and remind them that they're not. People would start embodying this attitude of a bitchy fake diva, like, excuse me, bitch, I'm not doing that. I mean, we all have seen this bitchiness that is becoming more and more prominent in the gay world. I believe this needs to stop. People need to wake up and come back to reality. My opinion.
And I think you made a very good point that it's a lot of hard work behind it, no? It's not just having this attitude, but it's a lot of hard work to get treated like a diva.
Yeah, I mean, for our own experience right now, we've been messaging today, and you said you didn't realize how long it was going to take.
Of course.
And I, this is great that I'm doing this interview, and it feels nice to be, invited to participate in an interview. But like, it took me, 4 hours from
4 hours.
start to finish. I mean, and I can do it much faster than I did today, but like, while I was doing it today, I was also filming a tutorial. Like, so while I was doing every step of my makeup, I was like recording myself filming a step-by-step tutorial of how to get in drag. You can't just expect to like walk out of the house looking busted
And be treated like a diva.
Yeah, and get treated like you're the grande dame.
From your experience in this, let's call it industry, yeah, what would be your criticism on it?
The most famous criticisms historically of the drag community are a perpetuation of like historically misogynist and transphobic standards that are built upon the success of white cis gay men doing drag. Like, there are all of the same kinds of criticisms that we could lodge against larger society apply to the drag world. Like, people of color still deserve to be represented in casts and performance lineups. We should be like advocating on behalf of diversity in like many different kinds of ways, and not as like a tool or a token, but rather because we want to be in pursuit of equality and of like a fair industry. So like, women who were born female who do woman drag and not dress as a drag king should still be allowed to be booked and should not be treated unfairly because of it. And trans people who live their life in a way that might be similar to how they present when they're in drag should have every opportunity that the rest of us have to perform or get onto TV. Like, when you go to a bar and you see a performance lineup and every single drag queen is white, that's a problem. We need to have lesbians doing drag king numbers. We need to have trans people performing. We need to have people of color performing. We need to have people who are in wheelchairs performing, because they're out there and they want the opportunity and they'll work for it. Racism and ableism and homophobia or transphobia and misogyny still exists within the drag community. And just because you're dressing as a woman doesn't mean that you're not being sexist or, discriminatory in some way. And so like, being more aware of that.
So for the drag scene to be more diverse.
Yeah.
I think what takes for people to start doing more drag in countries where it's still not that big, I think is for people to be able to come to terms first with being gay, to be super confident with that. Yeah. And then stepping in this, because I think that many might be afraid of bullying.
Yeah, I mean, like,
do drags experience that in New York as well?
I mean, no. Like, the kind of stigma of doing drag is real, and like, people might not understand, or it's becoming more and more easily accepted by like people's families. And like, yes, the reality is like, if you are doing this in a place where people haven't been exposed much to it, they will be shocked and they'll be confused, and that will lead to them maybe like making fun of you or bullying you because they don't understand or they are uncomfortable. But like, I mean, that's not a reason not to do it if it's something that you're passionate about. And ultimately, you have to determine who in your life is worthy of keeping around and who in your life is not deserving of your time and your attention. But like, I've been in situations where I've been in like physical altercations or like aggressive verbal altercations with people who are uninformed and ignorant and trying to be violent towards me. And like, that doesn't mean that I'm doing something wrong or that I should stop.
Sorry, when you experienced that, what was your attitude? How did you manage it? Like,
do you really want to? Do you want me to say what I did? I threaten. I do what you should never do, and like when I'm getting made fun of in drag out in public, I will threaten to fight them right there, which is, you should never do that. But I'll be like, hey, I have a pocket knife in my pocket and I'll stab you right now, which is what you should never do. And I never have a pocket knife. I don't carry a knife, but like, especially if you're somewhere where the tensions are higher than New York, you should never be threatening people. But my reaction is to be incredibly aggressive, which is a bad reaction to have. I mean, you should like meet them with questions. You should be like, well, why are you uncomfortable? What is it about what I'm doing that's causing you to be harmed or at risk? Like, what is it about me that is affecting you? And let's figure that out. I mean, like, yes, of course, like everybody say love and like, let's meet people where they're at and like be empathetic and like give them the generosity of our understanding. But like, also, I'm a radical bitch and I'm never a bitch unless you're going to be homophobic towards me. I mean, no, most of the time I'll just try to ignore it. Like, just completely ignore it because like, bitch, I'm sickening whether you're calling me a faggot or not. Like, I don't need your approval because, honey, I gave myself approval when I walked out the door. I wouldn't have left the house if I didn't know that I was more sickening than you could ever be. But like, with that said,
so it's confidence.
Yes, you should try to be nice to people if they don't understand. And if they're being mean to you, you should be like, hey, why is it that you're uncomfortable? How can I help you understand what I'm doing?
Do you have any favorite drag show? What's your favorite drag show?
Drag show or like queen?
Both.
Yeah, I'm going to say both. I really like Sasha Velour's nightgowns because she does a really good job of embodying a lot of the things that I feel like I talked about today, such as advocating to have a diverse cast in many different ways, not just like racially diverse, but also diverse in the gender and the age of the cast members. But she also is a really good example of somebody who went out into the world with her platform and developed a business community of people who she can rely on and who can rely on her to create this like incredibly successful system of traveling the world and performing and getting paid for it a livable wage. I feel like the real power of the drag community and like the industry of drag is that there are so many ways to do it and so many perspectives. Like, there are thousands of queens in the United States and everybody does it differently. And so, I mean, that's like where the real power and like subversiveness of it lies, is that like, it doesn't matter where you are because there's no like demand or like, there's no right or wrong way to be doing it. So you can kind of make it your own.
Perfect.
If you like this video and if you encourage this initiative of providing professional advice on queer life topics, then please hit subscribe. Also, I'm encouraging you guys to make comments below and use this platform to create networking. I'll see you next time.